Hey UConn Nation, it's KK Arnold here. If you're looking for the latest UConn women's basketball content, go subscribe to Listen Up to Phil and Ryan. Go Huskies!
It's Phil and Ryan on Listen Up. A good Thursday to you, Ryan. March 13th, as we have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 days until Selection Sunday, and we discover the next opponent for the UConn women's basketball team. A good morning to everybody. Thank you. We love you all. Subscribe, like, comment on the video. Ryan, this episode, we're going to break down the reasons why we think the UConn women's basketball team can win it all. And I'm glad that we're talking about this because Michael Vogel came out with a article yesterday, rather, and let's go over what he said. Let's go over to the index, Ryan. The UConn Huskies won 4 consecutive NCAA titles from 2013 to 2016, they said, but they haven't claimed the crown since. And Ryan, they go on to say they've been mostly healthy this season, according to ESPN, that is, and the results speak for themselves. Guards Paige Bueckers averaging 19 points, AZ Fudd 12.8 points per game, and forward Sarah Strong 16 points per game. Our big-time stars and the Huskies role players are, as usual, talented and dependable. Ryan, so that's just one big factor there. It seems like in basketball, I go back to thinking about LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. Okay, I'll focus and stay on track. It seems like when you have the big three, that's when you have stuff rolling. And I'm glad that ESPN pointed that out. Sarah Strong, right? Sarah Strong, AZ Fudd, Paige Bueckers. So I'm asking you this morning, what are your reasons why UConn is listed as one of the 6 possible teams that could win the NCAA title? And Ryan, not only that, I know you have a lot of reasons, but think about it this way. I got off the podcast with the other night, and I'm thinking to myself, I was watching a Gino Auriemma interview, Paige Bueckers interview after they won the Big East Conference. Ryan, it just seems like that this team is primed to do it. This team here is the best that we've had since you and I have been on the podcast. How's that sound to you? So I think it's time for you and I and everybody else. The 3 losses, even though they were come against some top 25 teams, Ryan, don't you think that this is really exciting? This is the time to get pumped because look at the past of me and you on the pod compared to now.
Yeah, you could argue it's one of the most exciting times that we've been doing the podcast. But yeah, I mean, we've kind of talked about it since the beginning of the season with Paige Bueckers last year. So it just seems like it's bound to happen this year. It has to be this year, right? But yeah, the big three is definitely a big reason why UConn has a chance to win it all. And like you mentioned, Paige, AZ, and Sarah, they're gonna have to be mainly the ones for a good majority of the tournament to be the ones that get it done for UConn. But I have 3 reasons written down here: momentum, depth, and defense. First, the momentum. UConn, they've won 10 games in a row. Last loss was at Tennessee, but that streak includes the win at South Carolina, who's now considered the best team in the country after beating the Texas Longhorns in the SEC tournament. So obviously that was a huge win, and that really sparked the momentum for the rest of the regular season and going into that Big East tournament and yet again claiming the top of the Big East once again this season. But the second reason, the depth of this team. I think UConn's going to be one of the deeper teams that the tournament has to offer. You look at what KK Arnold and Ashlyn Shade have done all year long. We talk about KK Arnold coming off the bench every game, providing the defense, the energy, just hyping up not only the teammates but the crowd, just getting everybody into the game, and we love to see that out of her. And just her overall speed the whole entire time that she's out there, outrunning most of her opponents on the floor. And Ashlyn Shade, 6th player of the year in the Big East, huge part of what the team did this year. And perhaps if AZ Fudd or somebody's struggling from 3 one of these games, Ashlyn Shade's always pretty reliable to come off the bench and knock down a couple shots from downtown and she's always going to be in the opponent's face on defense. She's done that the whole entire year. And also Aubrey Griffin, Jana Alfie. If Jana's struggling, rather Ice Brady can come off the bench perhaps for her. And Aubrey Griffin, hopefully she's going to be healthy by the time that UConn's next game is announced on Sunday. So Aubrey, obviously a big part of what UConn's done this season. And the last thing, the defense, the most important factor in my opinion. Defense has carried them all season long. It's usually the case every single season, but the team is at their best when they can create turnovers, get out in transition, fast break opportunities. But perhaps the most important factor will be whether they can really zone in on the perimeter defense, not allowing the other team to hit wide open threes, which they have struggled with at some points in the season. But on the other side of that, really quickly, the things that can prevent UConn from winning the championship, inconsistent play and the 3-point shooting themselves, which kind of go together. We talked about we need to see 4 consistent quarters of play where the offense and defense is clicking. And the Huskies, in my opinion, are going to have to make at least double-digit 3-pointers if they want a good shot at winning this title. I think the magic number somewhere around 10 to 15, which is what they averaged most of the games this season.
I have to ask you and everybody else before we get into comments, do you believe in Cinderella stories, in sports? I'm asking you because, this is it. We obviously know this is it. We don't know about Easy Fudd yet, right? But we know this is it for one of the best players in UConn history, Ryan. So again, you said it right with us knowing this, and it's not a secret. It's not a secret. I love for more teams, the whole country rather, to be aware of this and not just UConn Nation. I don't know if you know what I mean or not. Do you agree, Ryan, that, this is in the sports world, that is, there should be more hype, I believe, going around Paige Bueckers' last ride. I haven't really seen anything concerning her last ride. I think that needs to be more looked at. This is very important.
Yeah, you don't really see much about it. Haven't really seen much about it this year, rather other than that she's probably going to be drafted first overall, but nothing in terms of her last ride in terms of the tournament with
Mhm.
UConn. But I think it's kind of every player's dream, whether you're a fourth or fifth or sixth year senior. It's kind of every player's dream to go out there and get a good tournament run, go to the championship
Or
game,
how
and
about if you're a freshman? How about if you're a freshman? We're talking about Paige Bueckers last year. How about Sarah Strong? I guess it's just as sweet in your first year.
yeah, but I mean the senior going out there and just
Yeah.
riding off into the sunset and last year winning it all. But yeah, very special for to do it how Sarah Strong has done it all season as a freshman and just coming onto the scene in stores and just being incredible the whole season long and being able to win a title her first year at UConn would be pretty impressive as well.
All right, let's go. 68 Cougars said, "Thanks, guys, for reading my last. The Huskies really handled Creighton in most every facet of the game, and could you imagine how lopsided the score could have been with a healthy Aubrey in the lineup? However, coach was not too happy with the ball handling of our point guards, with KK and Caitlin committing 5 turnovers each. So we might look for more pressure to be put on these two by our tourney opponents. Further, we need Ash to score more points, and though she played a nice floor game as usual. One last thing, is it possible for you guys to stretch the show to 20 minutes? You do such a great job and enjoy your commentary so much. Rich in Indiana." Whoa, Ryan. Whoa.
Yeah, well, we definitely appreciate that. Yeah, I think for the turnovers are definitely going to be a big part of it. The turnovers can definitely kill you if UConn is not on the same page in one of these games, and the guards or the forwards, whoever's turning the ball over, they're not making good passes. The chemistry is a little off. We definitely can't have a lot of turnovers in some of these games, or it could end our tournament run very quickly. But yeah, I agree with Ashlyn. You know, she's obviously going to be a big part of what the team does. Her role coming off the bench is, not only to play suffocating defense, but we need a couple points out of her, get the 3-point shooting going, and that can go in to help Azzi Fudd free her up a little bit from 3-point range.
How about Jeanette Adams? Ryan, we told her at one time, I think she went to a game, I believe, this past season, maybe last season. I don't know. How about Jeanette Adams, Ryan? Send us an email, Jeanette, in the email bag, and why don't you hop on with us this off season? We could really use some new faces on this podcast and not actually just see your comment in the section below, but actually interact with you, even though it would be virtual, Ryan. It would be amazing to see these beautiful faces, at least some of them during the off season. Jeanette Adams said a solid game for the whole team. Jana, Ice, and Sarah were working well offensively and defensively. Same with the guards. Chen was outstanding. Needless to say, Paige, Azzi, and other guards really played together. Well done, Huskies.
Yeah, no, I think that's mostly what it's going to take is just everybody coming together, and we've seen it most of the year, especially on the defensive end. And like I said, everybody playing great defense out there, but like I said, in my opinion, I think it's going to come down to the perimeter shooting. Usually, UConn's been pretty good all year in terms of guarding the inside of the paint, not letting a lot of teams honestly get inside the paint and really outscore them or out rebound them inside there. But yeah, I think the perimeter 3-point shooting is definitely a big part of what they're going to have to do in the tournament.
This one is especially for you, Ryan. All I've heard this week is Ryan talk about what seed UConn will be. Ryan, and that's how I know Ryan is hyped up. Just to me said UConn started hot tonight, and that is what they need to do throughout the NCAA. With UConn ranked number 3, they should get a number 1 NCAA seed. Go Huskies. Thanks, Phil and Rye.
Well, that's what you would think, but I think UConn's at a number 2 seed. Unfortunately, I think
Ooh.
UConn is the odd team out with South Carolina winning the SEC tournament. I think it looks like they're going to jump up to the number 1 overall seed now in the tournament. Then you have UCLA at the number 2 in terms of the number 1 seed, the second team. USC, I would assume, getting a 1 seed. And I think Texas just barely beats out UConn for that last number 1 seed. So I think UConn, even though they did their job, they won the Big East tournament. Unfortunately, I still think they're the odd team out, and I think they're going to be a 2 seed.
All right, Pierre Williams, last one, Ryan. Hey, Phil and Ryan. Hey, Phil and Ryan. Love you guys, commentators on the games. You always on point. Now, what chance do you give UConn to win it all? I think they have as good chance as any team in the tournament. I love this comment, Ryan. Saved it as last. Thank you so much, Pierre, because Ryan, it's not like that kind of year where, again, I talked to my neighbor about it. He pointed it out. Thanks to him. It's not like where you had that top team, they just dominated everybody else, and you point to them and you're like, yeah, they will win it all. Of course, they might still not win it all because of what happens in March Madness. So, again, I like the fact, Ryan, that he pointed out these UConn women have as good a chance as any team in the tournament because that's basketball nowadays. That's college basketball nowadays, right? You talk about NIL and stuff, players in the transfer portal. That's college basketball nowadays. So you and I sitting here, even though them 3 losses, I get it. There's not anything, to be honest with you, that I'm concerned about heading into this tournament right now. There's just not. Even the 3 losses, the teams that they came against, there's no more complaining from Phil. It's done. I mean, I don't see another perfect scenario where you and I are sitting here. There's just nothing else more great that can happen right now, other than something in April.
I agree with that completely. I think it's pretty wide open this year. I mean, we've seen it a lot in the past. Obviously, UConn went on their giant run of winning tournaments in a row, and as that time happened, I think that the transfer portal allowed a lot of these teams to get a lot more players, allowed access to get a lot more players. Highly ranked recruits, and then we saw the rise of South Carolina, a couple other teams here and there. But yeah, I think this year there's not really been one dominant team the whole entire year. There's been multiple times where the AP polls switched up the number one seed even until the last week of the season. South Carolina being the number one seed to finish it off. So I think it's pretty wide open to a lot of teams, and it's definitely going to be fun to watch a lot of different teams this season. But I think UConn has as a good a shot as a couple other of these teams.
All right, so that leaves it with you guys commenting in the section below. What reasons do you think why these UConn women can win it all? To our friends and family, the UConn Huskies Nation, we love you all. And we will see you right back here on Saturday afternoon for another podcast on Listen Up.